the weather forecast with C3 Production.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to join me once again on this edition of the weather forecast. I hope you had an excellent day. Tonight, we may experience moderate to heavy rainfall in most parts of the center, Adamawa, and the northwest regions. We may have as low as 15 degrees in the west region. The east and south regions expecting a minimum of 19 degrees, and the southwest may get as low as 22, with the north and far north regions expecting temperatures to get to a minimum of 24 degrees. Italy onto the Adamawa region this evening, there may be heavy rainfall in the entire region, and this will progress till morning in the towns of Banyu and Tiknyer. Next, we take you over to the center, where tonight there may be light showers in the towns of Akonolinga and Nangaiboko, progressing to heavy rainfall in the rest of the towns by morning, except for Nangaiboko and Twi. Lastly, we take you to the northwest, where tonight there may be heavy rainfall except for the town of Fundong, and this heavy rainfall will progress till morning except for the town of Wum. To protect yourself and others against the coronavirus, keep a 1 meter distance with everyone, avoid greeting by handshakes, and in case of symptoms, call 1510. Have a good night.
In 100 different activities. Get highlights in this newscast. The National Coordinator for Reconstruction and Development for the Northwest and Southwest region embarks on a 2-week awareness and sensitization campaign following the devastating effects on the social unrest in the 2 English-speaking regions. Today marks 100 days since Pioneer City mayors took the oath of office across the country. In this edition, we take a look at the balance sheet with respect to the missions assigned to them. And those are top stories. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the 7:30 News in Yaoundé with me, Gladys Tata.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
President Paul Biya peacekeeping actions are the content of a newly published magazine, Hommage à la République, or Tribute to the Republic. Published by Adrien Boni Ebumbo, the publication highlights 100 actions to promote national unity, through which the role of Cameroon's head of state is unveiled. Sidonie Jobmandi reviewed the magazine for the 7:30 News.
Hommage à la République is a bilingual magazine of analysis and general information presented in its special edition. In this magazine, almost 100,000 actions of President Paul Biya in favor of peace in Cameroon and abroad are unveiled to the public. 100,000 actions carried out by the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, is elaborated in 2 main concepts that include negative peace and positive peace. In what the magazine considers as negative peace, future conflicts in Cameroon. According to the publisher, Adrien Boni Ebombo, the concept of negative peace brings up all what has to do with war in Cameroon. From page 6 to page 45 of the magazine, issues of national security put in place by the states are reviewed. For the diplomatic aspects of Cameroon, actions of President Paul Biya are saluted, especially in the fight for the return of peace in the Central African Republic and the mediation of Cameroon in the Angola conflicts. In the national scene, the President of the Republic has increased actions in favor of peace and national integrity. The fight against the terrorist group Boko Haram, protection of refugees in the far north and east regions, crisis in the northwest and southwest regions are issues mentioned in the domain of negative peace, elaborated by the author of the magazine. Talking about the positive peace of Cameroon, the magazine explains the public security of the country. Meanwhile, page 48 to 113 of the magazine present the democratic sphere of the country, as well as the importance of living together in Cameroon.
The National Coordinator of the Presidential Plan for the Reconstruction and Development of the Northwest and Southwest regions says the plan is intended to put them back on the path of socio-economic growth. Minister Paul Tasson was speaking in Bamenda, chief town of the Northwest region, at the start of a 2-week tour to raise awareness and sensitize the people on the need to play their role in order to attain the objectives of the plan. Ngoninge Shwaibu Shari of our Northwest Regional Station completes the story.
The opening meeting of the Awareness and Sensitization Mission on the Presidential Plan for the Reconstruction and Development of the Northwest and Southwest regions brought together the vital forces and development stakeholders of the Northwest region, who all welcomed the laudable initiative given the enormous destruction of public and private property suffered by the region in the wake of the Anglophone crisis.
The head of state is a man of action. We, the actors in the field, we must make sure that the people feel the impact of this this visit.
The construction team has come, and we are feeling that it's becoming a reality because the way the minister has printed it, we believe it will go.
Addressing participants at the meeting, the National Coordinator of the Presidential Plan for the Reconstruction and Development of the Northwest and Southwest regions, Paul Tasson, assured that the priorities of the population will be the main purpose of the plan. He made it clear that the time for such an initiative is now.
It is a program of hope. Hope to have a house again, to ply roads in good condition again, to have water and electricity without interruption again, to finally be able to see children go back to school. Hope to have access to health care again. In summary, hope for the economic revival of our two God-endowed regions.
Minister Paul Tasson wondered aloud how some people can be claiming to be fighting for the population and yet creating conditions for their misery and death. During his stay in the Northwest region, each of the 7 divisions of the region will be consulted to get their reconstruction and development priorities.
Members of the ad hoc committee of the special recruitment of 50 pupil magistrates and 30 students court registrars of English expression into the National Advanced School of Administration and Magistracy (ENAM) are evaluating the process so far while launching the 2020 session. Meeting in Yaoundé under the chairmanship of the Minister of and Administrative Reforms, Joseph Lay, the committee members have observed a drop in the number of candidates from over 3,000 in 2017 to over 1,000 today. Details with Emanuela Venier.
The 2020 session of this special recruitment exercise, launched in 2017, is the last of its kind. 4 years after, a total of 200 pupil magistrates and 120 court registrars of English expression would have been trained and put at the disposal of the Ministry of Justice by the end of 2021.
The head of state decided to give the opportunity to the English-speaking to get into the judicial system. Indeed, there was a serious need for that. We wish to thank the head of state in that he followed his decision with action.
The last session of the recruitment exercise is midway, with the written part and orals plus the proclamation of results, the remaining stages. 4 writing centers have been retained, Bamenda, Boya, Garwa and Yaoundé, to host 1,130 candidates.
It is hoped that this exercise will continue through the reinstitution of the common law division in ENAM, because otherwise the Supreme Court will never have enough of the justices that have to man the common law division of the Supreme Court.
Trained at the National Advanced School of Administration and Magistracy in NAM, the people magistrates and court registrars are destined for the Northwest and Southwest Courts of Appeal.
And on to this headline story, today clocks 100 days since the pioneer mayor of the city of Yaoundé, Luc Messia Tangana, took up office. In 3 months, 10 days, he has set the tone for what will be his actions at the helm of the capital city. CRTV's Ebenezer Kanga reports on the first 100 days in office of Luc Messia Tangana.
On the 3rd of March 2020, Luc Messia Tangana was elected as pioneer city mayor of Yaoundé for a 5-year term. He took over a city that has enormous challenges to overcome to make it look like a modern capital city. One of the challenges is occupation of street sides by hawkers. In effect, the street sides of Yaoundé have been invaded by hawkers, causing huge traffic jams. In his 100 days in office, the city mayor of Yaoundé has gone to the field to sensitize hawkers to quit the street sides. He has been to neighborhoods like Vogbi and Mesasi, where the streets have been transformed into markets, to sensitize the hawkers to quit by themselves or be forced to quit. Luc Messia Tangana has also been preoccupied with the problem of household refuse that is dumped just anywhere, giving the capital city an eyesore. Still, in his 100 days in office, the city mayor has started a project to create a forest reserve in the heart of Yaoundé. Located in the Olezwa neighborhood, the project will see the planting of several species of trees and the creation of a leisure park to embellish the city and provide a place of relaxation for its inhabitants. In 100 days in office, therefore, the city mayor of Yaoundé has taken the full measure of the task that awaits him. Yaoundé city dwellers have high expectations from Luc Messia Tangana to make the capital city of Cameroon look like other capital cities which are admired and envied.
Resolving the urban disorder problem at the Yaoundé Central Post Office and Avenue Kennedy remains a challenge despite efforts of local authorities to relocate roadside vendors. This will be one of the missions of Yaoundé City's mayor. Ewana Ipole was today at these very busy spots of the capital city and reports that the task is a demanding one. Ewane?
Markets encroaching on roads, disrespect for highway code, inappropriate refuse disposal, and noise pollution are the order of the day in the Yaoundé Business Center. Efforts of local authorities to redress the situation of urban disorder at these popular spots remain a big challenge. Officials in charge of urban development have a proposal of a lasting solution to the urban disorder.
Each action which had been put in place merits to be planified, and I hope the new mayor has taken measures in the way to solve the urban problems in the Central Post Office, for example, and Avenue Kennedy. We hope that he will put in place a social coordination which can make him take the problem of the traders and to discuss with them in the way to relocate them in the place it can offer for them.
They underline that the new city mayor needs to double efforts in finding a solution to urban disorder at the Yaoundé Central Post Office and Avenue Kennedy.
Also celebrating 100 days in office is the new mayor of the Douala City Council, Dr. Mbasandine. Since he took the oath of office in March 2020, the city mayor and his team embarked on numerous projects aimed at modernizing and beautifying the economic capital. Our reporter Veronica Benyela met with the city mayor of Douala for a personal evaluation 100 days later.
Dr. Mbasandine took over the management of the city of Douala with 6 primary action plans. These includes better management of traffic, order in the real estate and construction sector, dialogue and social security, management of markets, security of people and property, and the expansion and repairs of road network. Dr. Mbasandine describes the first 100 days as full of lessons.
It is a huge challenge, and what I'm discovering is that the mayor is a mother mother of people. He's also the father of all people in the city. And every day I receive people for various things.
Though all these projects are important and urgent, that which needs focus the most are roads and fluid circulation.
We have a dialogue with motor taxi in order to bring them to more discipline, in order to facilitate the circulation in our city. Of course, we need more roads. That means that we need more investment. But it is already important to improve the use of existing roads.
As the mayor forges ahead to leave a positive thumbprint on the city of Douala, he calls on inhabitants to cooperate and make the city better.
I would like to call to the responsibility of everybody. It is not just to the Douala urban city to clean the whole city. It is important that everybody take his own part in what we are trying to do.
The mayor has promised development, accountability and transparency.
Over in the West region, 100 days as Bafoussam city mayor was period for Roger Tafam to wage war against urban disorder in the city. The city mayor confessed that this has been a major challenge given that Bafoussam is one of the towns which will host a poll of the 2021 AFCON. As Ngo Henry reports, inhabitants agree that the efforts of the senior municipal official are paying off.
Bafoussam City Mayor says he devoted his first 100 days in office to fight against urban disorder. Installed last February the 25th, Mayor Roger Tafam says Bafoussam will have a facelift as projects are being realized within the French Debris Relief and Development Contract, the C2D, and the 2021 AFCON.
Some matches inside our town. The C2D was to build up 19 kilometers of road in the town. I think as from now, there are remaining some around 300.
A campaign to plant trees along the major streets of the city is ongoing.
Because of the COVID-19, the face of Bafoussam town will have really changed. Very soon, we will start the real fight against urban disorder.
Mayor Roger Tafam affirms that Bafoussam will in the days ahead have a befitting public library among other projects.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
We now take you over to Parliament, where the bill authorizing the President of the Republic to ratify the protocol to eliminate illicit trade in tobacco products has been adopted at the National Assembly. This was in the course of a plenary sitting chaired by the Senior Deputy Speaker, Honorable Hilarion Etong. The sitting also witnessed the adoption of the bill on the Guerrilla Agreement and the Statute of the Women Development Organization. Esther Kima has more.
The 5-hour plenary sitting with heated debates on 3 bills was preceded by the Chairman's Conference presided over by the Senior Deputy Speaker, Honorable Hilarion Etong, where the day's agenda was set. The ensuing debates at the House Chamber analyzed the protocol to eliminate illicit trade in tobacco products in order to secure the tracking of defaulters for the preservation of the health of the population. A dozen elected representatives questioned the laxity in the domain and the need for increased taxes to discourage tobacco consumption.
It's important to see how we can reinforce the taxation in order to make those products less available and less affordable for the consumer. The loss tax is about 10 billion francs per year.
The Guerrilla Agreement discussed also unveiled the preoccupying aspects of the conservation of protected species and their habitats.
The cross-river gorilla we know is found mostly in Manu, and especially in the Takamanda Forest Reserve, and this species is moving towards Nigeria.
For governments, natural reserves are being developed and actions taken to ensure that endangered species are not protected to the detriment of humans.
We have created so far 34 national parks. What we are doing now is to carry out activities of sensitization. The government has a task to protect people, so we cannot also allow people to be killed by animals.
As for the bill on the statute of the Women Development Organization and the member states of the Organization of the Islamic Conference, it provides training and education mechanisms for Muslim women.
The Muslim women, we have all been used to seeing her locked up in the Sare and not being able to go out and get into activities.
The legal instruments will strengthen Cameroon's commitment to women's empowerment and welfare.
In continuation of our series on the presidential ordinance modifying the 2020 finance law, we focus tonight on the Ministries of Basic and Secondary Education. For the Ministry of Basic Education, its budget has been reduced by 9 billion CFA francs, while that of secondary education has dropped from 404.9 billion to 392.3 billion CFA francs. Baldwin Sama completes that story.
The drop in the budgets of the Ministries of Basic and Secondary Education falls in line with government's objectives to meet her priorities this year with minimum cost. The Ministry of Basic Education, for example, had a budget voted that stood at over 235 billion CFA francs. The budget has been modified with a minus 9.3 billion CFA francs, and the new budget of the ministry stands at over 226 billion CFA francs. With this new budget, the Ministry of Basic Education this year will lay emphasis on an increase in the literacy rate in the basic education sector in the country while working to improve upon access to primary cycle. Emphasis will equally be laid on how to ensure strict implementation of the ministry's governance policies. In the Ministry of Secondary Education, the previous budget voted stood at over 404 billion CFA francs. The budget has been modified with a minus 12.5 billion CFA francs and a new budget of over 392 billion CFA francs for the Ministry of Secondary Education. Priority for the ministry will be to reinforce access to secondary education in the country with a rapid improvement in the quality of education and life in the secondary education milieu. They will equally have to adapt training in this sector to the socio-economic environment. Both the Ministries of Basic and Secondary Education have what it takes and would work towards meeting their objectives this year.
And right now, we take you to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center for an update on the COVID-19 pandemic in Cameroon. Gilbert Ogene is standing by for that purpose with his guest, Eric Tandy. Good evening, Gilbert Ogene. What are the updates over there at the Operations Center?
Hello, Gladys Tata. Welcome to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. This Monday, we have 149 new cases of infection to the COVID-19. And I must say that 1,199 people were tested to get this 149 who tested positive, meaning that 1,050 others tested negative to COVID-19. We have 30 recoveries today and 5 deaths from the COVID-19, bringing the number of deaths, the total number of deaths in Cameroon since the first case of COVID-19 was diagnosed in Cameroon on the 6th of March this year to 308. And we will have our guest of tonight, who is Dr. Eric Tandy, a public health expert in the Ministry of Public Health. Good evening, Doctor.
Yeah, good evening, Gilbert.
We're talking about sensitization on the respect of the barrier measures today. Now, tell us, the exponential increase in the number of positive cases to COVID-19 in Cameroon today, can it be blamed on the fact that Camerooners don't adhere to the barrier measures prescribed by government?
Thank you very much for your question, Gilbert, and for the continuous sensitization of the population. It is important to note here that we'll take it in the two ways. Two ways in the sense that, firstly, the population is not disciplined enough. I should say here with a bit of disappointment that we still find some Cameroonians who don't respect these barrier measures. that has been set in place by the government, despite the continuous effort that has been made to sensitize the population at all times through many channels. You can imagine media channels and even individuals in the communities, with the decentralization process. We've moved right up to community leaders and church leaders. And I don't think there is anybody down in Cameroon who does not know that COVID exists or they should respect barrier measures. The other way around is that due to this increase of numbers that we're recording is due to the multiplication of screening sites that have been provided by the government in all 10 regions and even some districts. When I use district here, I'm referring to the organigram of the Ministry of Public Health. Definitely. So this could have increased, account for the increase of number of cases that we are recording on daily basis.
You are a public health expert. Tell us, what is the ideal methodology to ensure of sensitization, to ensure efficient communication in terms of making people respond positively to the messages passed out?
I think the most reliable method is getting the community involved in the sensitization process itself. And I think this is what the Ministry of Public Health as a technical ministry has put in place, because working with other ministries like the Ministry of Decentralization, councils areas have been involved, and now sensitization has been taken into the community, and individuals within the community now sensitize their neighbors as far as COVID is concerned. I think that is a strategy that has been used, but yet we still get worried. Why are these individuals not respecting barrier measures, especially in towns? You and I, who've moved in the cities of Yaoundé and Douala and other cities, we still see people not putting on face masks. We still see people sitting in bars, not respecting physical distances. And these are some of the questions we keep asking. Now you are the ones doing the sensitization in the community. What is wrong? Can we be disciplined enough here to free our country? You see, we've recorded 5 deaths today. It's not a joke, but it pains a lot. But we have to be disciplined. Ourselves, we are not expecting the head of state, who has asked all of us to be behind a face mask, to come again and start moving behind us. We are mature enough, and let us be disciplined and end this disease within our communities.
A clarion call there from our guest of tonight, Dr. Eric Tandy, a public health expert in the Ministry of Public Health. I remind you, Gladys Tata, that we have 149 new cases, confirmed cases with COVID-19 today, 30 recoveries and 5 deaths. And just to add that, Dr. Alem George Etundi Mbala, during the press briefing today, emphasized on the fact that Cameroonians should rely on the official media to get information and statistics on the COVID-19, because some of them go around into social media platforms and get wrong statistics, which they use to do erroneous comparisons, which are not necessary. Over to you, Gladys.
Well, thank you very much, Gilbert Ngwenya. And as you say, 5 deaths, the figure is worrying, and Cameroonians need to be more disciplined. And finding people queued up at the unauthorized COVID-19 test centers to know their status has become a normal phenomenon. The challenge is, however, the long wait for test results. To ease the burden, Centre Pasteur has for the past 2 weeks authorized COVID-19 test centers to make use of the rapid diagnostic test kits so that patients get their results 15 minutes later, compared to the past when they had to wait for over 72 hours or even more. Yoti Kaleli Songe described the actual setting and tells us the treatment given to persons awaiting their results. Yoti?
Fast and reliable are 2 adjectives health personnel use to describe the rapid antigen diagnostic test for COVID-19.
Since the 10th of June, Centre Pasteur has recommended that we should be doing the rapid testing. 10 to 15 minutes, the results are being available.
Initially, the real-time polymerase chain reaction was the only method used to test COVID-19 in the country, an approach that usually left patients waiting hours and sometimes weeks for their results.
If you were in Yaoundé, it was quite okay, but if you were living in Douala, in Gawar, etc., that was much, much more difficult and long to get a result. Then the molecular test was performed here only, and so we were overwhelmed with samples coming from everywhere.
Until a person is tested positive for COVID-19, the treatment protocol is not administered. But this doesn't override medical attention to those who have certain symptoms or have been in contact with an infected person while awaiting their results.
A patient who comes and is presenting with certain symptoms will be given treatment to relieve the symptom that he or she is having. And if the COVID test comes up, we can see if we can continue maintaining the treatment or orientate the treatment towards the protocol of COVID-19.
We asked them to eat well, take a lot of fruits and vegetables. In the tent, pulmonologists consult people who have been directly exposed to the virus and put them on treatment while awaiting results.
Meanwhile, a coronavirus patient upon recovery is subjected to both the rapid antigen diagnostic test and polymerase chain reaction to determine if they are negative and free from the virus.
On to something else now. The activities of Cameroon's electricity transportation company, Sonatrel, has been described as satisfactory. This was during a board of directors meeting in Yaoundé today, as Luma Slim Davis tells us in the following report.
Electrical energy constitutes an important component in the development process of a nation. It is also important to transport the energy for use as required to add value to the product. Sonatrel, in its June 2020 session, takes a broad look over its 2019 generalized activities.
We have come today to see the accounts of Sonatrel for this first year of exercise on the transmission network. And the conclusion is that the company is healthy. We have our incomes can classify us between the most performant companies in Cameroon today, because our incomes, what we have got from NEO and the state, are above 50 billion, which is very important for a newly created company.
While Sonatrel seeks to stabilize its gains, there is room for future projections.
Oh, we have so many projections. You know, the transmission network, much is still to be done. So we have started by buying 3 power transformers of 50 MVA. The first have been installed in my 2 substation in Limbe. The second one has been installed in Kondenge substation, and the third in Ahala substation. And we are still waiting for 3 more transformers that will be installed in Douala, in Lobaba substation. I think, you see, in only 1 year, is if we can achieve what has been done today, it means that in the few years, we will do better.
The need to ensure quality human resources is a component that has to be guaranteed for stability and durability.
The administrative and management accounts of the Southwest Development Authority, SOWEDA, is under review. Newly appointed staff of the corporation are strategizing on how to restructure the organization, especially with the reconstruction program for the Northwest and Southwest regions. The statutory session was presided by the board chair, Ediage Herbert, as Tanjong Levis Agbo reports.
Due to the effects of the sociopolitical crisis in the southwest and northwest regions of the country and the ravaging impacts of the coronavirus, the Southwest Development Authority, in their first ordinary session for the year 2020, gave instructions for management to explore means of coming up with alternative strategies of funding the activities of SOWEDA.
We all know that the country is going through serious crisis now, financial crisis, and the unrest in the northern and southwest that's still going on. All of this, especially the impact of COVID-19 as well on the economy. So all of this is putting great strain on the coffers of the state. So I think it is time for Soweto to start looking for other avenues, because what we are receiving as subsidies from government is dwindling as the years go by.
The Southwest Development Authority, which has as mission to take on rural development challenges, equally reviewed some strategies they will make construction of the Southwest region.
There is this plan that is coming, the presidential plan for the reconstruction of the Northwest and the Southwest. We have great hopes on that plan, and we are thinking that once that plan is going to be executed, of course, in tandem with the authorities that are going to come from PNDP, we think that most of the objectives of Soweto would have been attained.
For the authorities of Soweto, they are set to work for the reconstruction of the region. What they need now are instructions to kickstart.
We stay in the Southwest region, where medical personnel in Bakassi and the Indian Division have been working with local government officials, traditional and religious leaders to curb the spread of the deadly virus in the peninsula. With no recorded cases of the COVID-19 as of date, the health personnel and administrative authorities have been urging the population to remain cautious. Details with Fame Bonui Ayise.
There exists a special relationship founded on mutual love and respect between the people of Bakassi and the elements of the Rapid Intervention Battalion unit in the Delta, whose presence is vital for the preservation of peace, security, and the sovereignty of the land. The harmonious civil-military relations recently led to the crackdown of 6 sea pirates during a recent maritime operation, thanks to the collaboration of the Musgum community in Bakassi, who were victims of a pirate attack some weeks ago. A feat the commander of the B Delta sought to appreciate with a special donation of some bags of rice.
Today, we would like to thank them for the collaboration they brought us during the last 3 weeks, when that sea pirate was really buried them on water. Now it's not special because this is what we used to do. We can feed some when they are needs. We can feed them. Even medical care, we can provide water. Even sometimes we can become a teacher.
The donation by the B Delta has been described by the Musgum fishermen as a great show of solidarity, as it would go a long way to save their families from hunger, but also to boost their morale and strengthen the strong ties existing between the population and the military.
Cameroon joins the globe tomorrow, Tuesday, June 23, to commemorate the Olympism Day, a day set aside to respect Olympic values. Since there will be no major celebration due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Sports and Physical Education Minister Professor Narcisse Moele Kombe has called on Cameroonian athletes to respect Olympic values as well as respect barrier measures against COVID-19. Baldwin Sama tells us more.
The celebration of this year's Olympism Week, which commemorates the creation of the International Olympic Committee, falls within a particular context, which has prevented different Olympic committees from organizing particular events this year. Cameroon is not an exception, with the Ministry of Sports and Physical Education acknowledging the specificities of this year's celebration.
This situation is marked by the outright cancellation of competitions or readjustment of their calendar. Cameroon has not escaped the ghost of the negative influence of this pandemic. In respect of the barrier measures prescribed by the head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya, on the World Health Organization, we entrusted on 19 March 2020 all the actors of the sports movement to suspend their activities throughout the national territory.
Sports and Physical Education Minister Professor Narcis Mwile Kombi calls on athletes to use this opportunity and respect government-outlined barrier measures against COVID-19.
I ask the actors of the sports movement to continue to scrupulously observe the three fundamental values of Olympism.
Cameroon will this Tuesday join the international community to observe this day amidst the COVID-19 pandemic.
And that's where we draw the curtains on this edition of the news. Join Romuald Chuisengok at 8:30 for the news in French. I'll be your host same time tomorrow at 7:30. And keep safe. Until then, it's good night from all of us on the 7:30 poll.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing